The views and opinions expressed by the host do not state or reflect those of the company and its management. Furthermore, the views, opinions, and insinuations made by the host, guests, do not reflect those of the show, the management, and the network. Magandang gabi, Pilipinas. From allegations to investigation, 18 men claiming to be former Marines returned to the National Bureau of Investigation, facing tough questions and the burden of proof. At the center, serious claims of cash deliveries allegedly linked to power and influence. What evidence holds and what still needs to be verified? We break down the facts, the claims, and what comes next. This is the PH Insider. Ako po si Ox Balyada. At para tulungan po tayong himayin ang mga isyong politikal at matatalinong diskurso ngayong gabi, kasama po natin ang veterano sa larangan po ng isyong politikal, matapang, diretso at matalino po sa kanyang mga binibitawang pahayag at pagpapaliwanag. Academician from the University of Santo Tomas and international relations expert, of course, our resident political analyst, Professor Dr. Dennis Coronacion. Good evening.
Good evening, Sir Ox. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Professor Dennis Coronacion na muling sinasamahan si Sir Ox Balyado upang siyasatin ang mga nagbabagang mga issue dito sa ating bansa.
That's right. Thank you for joining me once again.
Salamat.
Yeah, and I'm sure we will also be assisted by another political analyst later.
Yes.
Sa headline ng mga naging sentro ng usap-usapan ngayon, 18 na nagpakilalang ex-Marines balik NBI para sa one-on-one interview. Kompletong bumalik sa tanggapan ng National Bureau of Investigation o NBI ang 18 kataong nagpakilalang dating Marines upang sagutin ang mga tanong ng mga investigador kaugnay ng mabigat na paratang laban kay dating Ako Bicol Representative Elizalde Co. Ayon sa grupo, sila raw ay na-hire bilang mga bagmen at inatasang maghatid ng mga bag na puno ng pera sa ilang matataas na opisyal ng pamahalaan. Bandang alas 10 ng umaga nang dumating sa nasabing ahensya ang 18 ex-Marines kasama ang kanilang abogado na si Attorney Levito Baligod upang magbigay ng mga karagdagang ebidensya tulad ng mga letrato ng ID, screenshots ng mga usapan at iba pang mga dokumento. Aminado ang kanilang mga abogado na nahirapan silang makapagbigay ng ilang requirements dahil wala na raw si Ko upang magpatunay ng kanilang employment at isinuko na rin daw nila ang kanilang mga ID noong sila'y matanggal sa trabaho. Umabot sa mahigit 8 oras ang one-on-one interview ng NBI sa 18 katao. Ayon kay NBI Director Melvin Matibag, mahalaga ang proseso upang masuri ang kredibilidad ng kanilang mga pahayag. Sinabi naman ni Baligod na hindi pa tapos ang investigasyon at babalik pa ang grupo dahil may mga karagdagang tanong pa ang mga investigador. Nagsimula ang issue matapos ang isang press conference noong February 24 kung saan ibinunyag ng grupo ang umano'y 805 billion pesos na kickback na may o kaugnay ng mga proyektong flood control. Kasama sa mga pinangalanan sa paratang ang Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr., dating House Speaker Martin Romualdez at si Ko. Sa ngayon, patuloy pa ang investigasyon ng NBI habang hinihintay ang paglabas ng kanilang mga susunod na hakbang. From headlines to public debate, we now turn our attention to this developing issue. Joining us live via Zoom is a political scientist, Professor Eric De Torres. Good evening, Professor.
Good evening, Sir Ox, and good evening to you also, Sir Dennis.
Good evening once again, and welcome to the PH Insider.
Yes. Prof. Eric, my first question is, from the standpoint of a political analyst, how should the public view these allegations as a legitimate whistleblowing case, or is this a possible political operation?
Well, this is a very difficult question, Sir Dennis. But the way that we intend to look at it as such is that as of now, especially in the advent of social media and various social media platforms, and relatively the information is in front of us, it's a narrative game. The way that we intend to look at as such, whether or not these allegations are whether to a certain degree, to a certain extent, totoo, may bahid ng katotohanan. At the end of the day, ano yung narrative? Kasi labanan ng naratibo ngayon at the same time, people can't help but to think or sometimes wonder why is it that the timing is basically questionable. At the same time, bakit ngayon lang kung kung dati pa dapat lumabas or nagkaroon ng ganitong klasing pag-amin itong 18 Marines na to. So at the end of the day, yun yung pinaka dapat maging critical yung taong bayan. Of course, syempre form part of it is the legality or the manner by which mag-stand ba within the court of law. Pero iba din kasi yung court of the people in terms of the public perception, which basically shapes the minds of the Filipino people as of this point in time.
So regardless of whether or not there is truth to what they're claiming, what's important is, of course, their claims bolster the narrative of certain political camps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in fact, even the perception of the people is pretty much also dependent. I mean, one of the aspects that we have to consider as well is the timing.
Yes.
Yeah. So as to, I mean, when these 18 ex-Marines, surfaced, it's very crucial as well. Kasi kung kailan sila sumulpot, kailan lumabas sa open, no? And yung magnitude din ng claims nila, ng allegations, no? Pero Professor Eric, what political interest could be at play here? What do you think?
Well, of course, that would depend on whose camp is actually going to prevail. Of course, there are some allegations already that this is politically driven by of course, other camp. The Duterte camp is being dragged into this whole issue, while their narrative is, of course, it's something that is just, really voluntary on their end. But if you try to look at it as such, yung personalities behind and of course looking at the individuals concerned and na lumutang na yung pangalan din ni former Congressman Mike Defensor, who's known to be really a strong supporter of the Duterte camp. So yun yung medyo talagang dapat na pagtuunan ng pansin as to the intention. Is the intention really to tell the truth, or politically motivated as to a ploy or a plot to be able to wanting to frame a narrative for the political situation or event that's about to unfold in the country.
Yeah, Prof. Eric, speaking of political narratives, how do high-profile accusations, even without full evidence, shape public perception and political narratives?
Yeah, I think, Sir Dennis, more importantly is the credibility of these 18 Marines. So, at the end of the day, I don't, of course, if some of the viewers, for example, would recognize, especially during our time nung panahon na yun ng impeachment ni Erap Estrada, meron kang whistleblower na Clarissa Ocampo back then who was
Yes.
really very credible. Wala kang masasabi, and of course ang pagkakaiba nun, wala pang social media. Ito yung 18 na Marines na to kaagad, ano na yung counter nila, yung iba hindi naman lahat Marines, yung iba natanggal sa serbisyo kasi may naging issue sila. So again, it all adds up na talagang yung counter narrative is hindi credible itong 18 ito.
Okay, well, just an additional question. In your point of view, Professor Eric, does this case follow a familiar pattern in Philippine politics when it comes especially to destabilization or power struggles?
yeah, this is something that is actually not new. This is something that is also being used to rattle or shape perception as to things that they want to actually unfold, or groups that would most likely favor their situation. So yun yung nakakalungkot dito and the thing about it is that what is different today from before is that you have basically various platforms in order for you to get as many people, the reach basically, and of course with the presence of various influencers as well. We cannot discount the fact that from both camps, it's also there are also various influencers and using social media to be able to curb the public perception. So yun yung malaking pagkakaiba, Sir Ox, ngayon eh. Meron ka social media para mas malayo yung makuhang reach sa taong bayan.
But anyway, going back to the point of discussion, Professor Eric, who gains politically from these allegations, by the way, and who stands to lose the most in this issue?
Well, as of the very interesting question, Sir Ox.
Yes.
But as of this point in time, neither. Simply because the issue is now, I think it's not really a hot issue. The hot issue right now is how we would be able to address this oil crisis. So parang siya,
Tama.
natabunan siya. Ano siya, parang siguro kung ako tatanungin, mga nasa ikatlo or ika-apat siya na parang main issue. And people are very particular right now in terms of government's response. Grabe na yung taas ng langis, magsusunod-sunod na yan, although inassure tayo sa bilihin and so on and so forth. But I think neither as of this point in time. That would depend also still pagdating dito sa developing story with regard to the impeachment case filed against VP Sara. Mainit ngayon yung diskusyon sa sa House of Representatives. So, yun, it's a developing issue kasi tingin ko parallel yung pagdinig doon sa tumatakbong hearing ng Committee of Justice Committee on Justice pagdating doon sa impeachment case ni VP Sara.
Oo nga, considering the
Sabay.
timing no?
Sabay eh.
Oo. So, kumbaga man yung pagiging, yung expected na siguro it would be explosive, did not happen.
Yes.
Oo, kasi nga may na-overtake ng mga iba pang mga events, like the Middle East crisis. Yeah.
Ang daming nakasabay na natatabunan yung yung usapin.
Prof. Eric, I have another question. Could this be part of a larger realignment heading into future elections?
Yes, definitely, Sir Dennis. Definitely, lines are drawn. And I also I would like to add, parang makikita mo ngayon, hindi na ganun ka-consolidated yung support with regard to the existing leadership sa House. Very vocal yung iba. Na talagang may ibang blocks na talagang nakikita na yun nga yung support for the impeachment. And not to mention, there's also, again, ibabalik ko yung talking about narrative. The narrative na parang bakit yata ang pinopokus ng Kongreso o ng administrasyon ang patungkol sa impeachment while in fact ang tagal nung emergency powers na hinihingi ng presidente, nagtatrabaho ba yung mga mambabatas para ma-address ko ano man yung legislative adjustment sa matugunan tong crisis na to. So, yun
This is
yung
very immediate.
Yes, so talagang yun yung hindi as explosive yung binanggit ni Sir Dennis kanina na sufficient in substance. Hindi nagkaroon ng ganun kabigat na traction kasi parang yung mga tao, ayan na naman. And then, all of a sudden, hindi nyo ma-address yung issue para sa pangkabuhayan at sa krisis na ito eh. But more importantly, ayan, marami ng mga mambabatas who are very vocal about, not really in particular, being more rational about, the said proceedings. So, a good example, kung matatandaan natin, a couple of days ago, nag-press con ang NUP, headed by, of course, malaking bloke din yan by Congressman, 2nd District Congressman, 1st District Congressman Ronnie Puno. So, yun, which is NUP is the second largest political bloc in the House of Representatives.
Pag-usapan muna natin itong tuloy lang natin, Prof. Dennis.
Oo.
Very interesting, no? Yung kagaya kanina binabanggit natin yung timing, no?
Yes.
Ang daming ganyan din. Si Professor Eric kakasabi niya, ang daming mahalagang problema na dapat harapin sa ngayon. Yung urgency, no? There is what you call exigency of the matter.
That's right.
Especially that we're going through a tremendous crisis brought about by this conflict or tension in the Middle East.
That's
no?
right.
Kesa dito sa mga ano to pinagtutuusan impeachment, hindi ba pwedeng tutukan muna natin na matugunan yung emergency power ni Presidente.
Yeah, Presidente Bongbong. Yeah. Kasi tama. I think kapag may mga ganito tayong pinagdadaanan na crisis, like
We have to prioritize.
economic crisis. Yeah. We have to prioritize. Ano ba unahin natin? Politika pa rin ba?
Or
survival?
Oo.
Di ba? Economic
Oo, tugunan.
survival.
I think Professor Eric is back on the line.
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got disconnected earlier. Sorry about that. You were saying? Please go ahead. Please go
Sorry
ahead.
for that. Yeah. So,
Okay.
the thing that I want to impress upon is that another issue is that yung consolidation hindi na ganun ka consolidated, and then kung makikita rin din po natin lines are clearly drawn, plus the fact that with the continuous decline of the president, President BBM, malaki yung effect dun kung ako re-electionist specifically sa 2028, at kung hindi mamimaintain ni VP Sara yung numbers niya, mag-iisip na ako ng dalawa, lalo na kung ako ay senador, pagdating nitong susunod na mga panahon, kung susuporta ba ako o hindi. Ang tanungan ngayon is, are you in or are you out na ba? Kung ikaw mambabatas, maaari kang manalo by 2028 kasi lokal naman yan. Pero kung ikaw ay senador, malaking epekto yan sa kandidatura mo by 2028, especially national elections din yung tinatakbong mo, kung maintained yung numbers ni VP Sara sa Mindanao at saka sa kalahati ng Visayas. So as of now, very steady at very solid yung numbers ni VP Sara. And kung mapapansin din natin, mas lalong tingin ko, and this is just my own analysis, mas nagkakaroon siya ng momentum kasi yung governance issue to address this crisis is for the administration, and she is not part of the administration, and technically she doesn't have to do anything. If the administration fails to address this crisis, then you're giving much more credit or opening to VP Sara.
Yeah, it looks like it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you're kind of empowering the opponent if you're unable to address the issue, considering that there is an urgency, I think parang mas binigyan mo tuloy ng puntos yung kabila.
Yeah, or it's also possible that the people would not choose any side, any political camp, and they would just go out on the streets and pressure the government to do something about this problem.
Right.
Well, this could possibly lead to political unrest.
Well, there's a whole lot of effects, kung,
That's right.
kung hindi ito matutugunan, hindi ma-prioritize kung ano dapat bigyan ng pansin.
Yeah, tama.
The questions are far from over, and neither is the discussion. As the investigation continues, the focus now shifts from the claims to the bigger political implications. What does this issue reveal about power, alliances, and accountability? What take this further as we head into the next part of our discussion? Right here on the PH Insider on TV.
Hey there, fellow explorers! Ever get curious about the incredible eats across the Philippines? Well, you're in for a treat. Today, we're diving straight into the flavorful world of Visayan cuisine. Let's get this food journey started!
Visayan cuisine? Oh, you know I'm all in. I can't wait to dive into every dish. We're talking a full-on flavor adventure.
I don't doubt it! Okay, foodie fanatic, take it away and give us a taste of what the Visayas has to offer.
You got it. First up, let's dig into something sweet. Calamay from Bohol. It's gooey, it's chewy, and it's oh so delicious. Calamay is a sweet and gooey delicacy made from glutinous rice, coconut milk, brown sugar, and toasted peanuts. And the best part, it's served in coconut shells and sealed with a red band. It's like the tropical version of a dessert taco.
Next up, we have Binagol from Leyte, another coconut shell delight. I think coconuts might be the real MVP here. Binagol is a sweet treat that's perfect for dessert lovers. It's rich and absolutely delicious. If you've got a sweet tooth, this one's gonna make it do the happy dance.
Now let's talk about something savory. Chicken inasal from Bacolod. If this chicken could talk, it would sing. Inasal is grilled chicken marinated in a mixture of local spices, giving it a unique, smoky, and tangy flavor. It's literally cooked over fire and is a must-try. Just imagine your taste buds doing the cha-cha.
And we can't forget about Pancit Molo, a comforting dumpling soup from Iloilo, a UNESCO creative city for gastronomy. It's like a hug from your grandma, but in soup form. Pancit Molo is filled with delicious dumplings and a flavorful broth. Perfect for any occasion, especially when you need some serious comfort food.
Visayan cuisine makes incredible use of local ingredients like coconuts, bananas, and root crops. It's like they took the whole garden and made it delicious. These ingredients are the heart and soul of Visayan cuisine, making every dish unique and flavorful. It's like Mother Nature's gift to our taste buds.
So what do you think? Ready to indulge in the flavors of the Visayas?
From sweet treats like calamay and binagol to savory delights like inasal and pancit molo, there's something for every palate. Trust me, your taste buds will thank you.
Get your taste buds ready for a fiesta and dive into the flavors of Visayan cuisine.
Welcome back to the PH Insider on TV. Still with us in our conversation tonight is our political scientist, our guest, Professor Eric De Torres, and of course, Professor Dennis. All right, let's move on to our discussion, professors.
Yes.
Okay, Prof. Eric, what does this issue reveal about the strength or weakness of our accountability mechanisms?
Well, again, at the end of the day, Sir Ox, no, it's a question of implementation, really, and there are actually strong laws. We have laws that would be able to cover yung accountability ng public officials. But at the end of the day, the approach in terms of how these laws are actually implemented, plus the fact that, of course, ipapasok na natin yung pinag-uusapan natin na yung credibility din ng mga taong nasa likod na nag-i-investigate, plus the manner by which how they were actually appointed, the allegiance of these basically people. So yun yung hati yung perception ng taong bayan. For example, when Ombudsman Boying Remulla was actually appointed, people knew from the very start that he was a strong ally and formed part of the cabinet of the BBM administration. So people are wondering also kung yung credibility niya is solid, but at the same time yung iba naman yung sinasabi nila was maganda na siya na-appoint kasi nung panahon nung previous congressman, there are also issues na hindi pinabubuksan yung SALN and so on and so forth, at nakikita natin yung aggressiveness ni Secretary Remulla. So that's just one of the few. And then very recently, yung pagkaka-appoint kay NBI Director Melvin Matibag, who was basically before a Duterte ally and now being appointed as the NBI Director. So yun yung hati yung magiging perception ng mga tao. But accountability-wise, we have lost. But at the end of the day, Sir Ox, it's the implementation really of the laws. And more importantly, the approach in terms of yung bilis. Kaya ngayon, ang nangyayari po kung bakit nagkakaroon din ng momentum yung ibang mga tao na nagiging very popular yung influencers at saka yung social media. Kasi nawawalan ng gana at nawawalan ng tiwala yung tao sa mga institusyon. Lalong humihina yung mga institutions of governance and our institutions as a whole. Kaya mas nagsisik sila ng papunta doon sa mga program at mga public service programs ng iba't ibang tao or politicians kasi mas mabilis na natutugunan yung kanilang problema.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Prof. Eric, speaking of institutions and investigations, the institution that has been given the task to investigate this matter is the NBI, or National Bureau of Investigation, which, as you mentioned, is now headed by a former Duterte ally, Attorney Matibag. So, how crucial do you think is the role of the NBI in ensuring that this does not turn into a trial by publicity?
Yeah. I think it's number one, how they intend to communicate and, be transparent. It's based on facts. Factual lang. Yun yung mahalaga dito eh. Yung lalabas din dun sa investigasyon at para maging informed yung taong bayan na yung merits of the case lang, yun talagang tinitignan nila at walang kahit na anong pagtingin na wina-whitewash o may bahid politika. Kasi yun naman yung mandato ng opisina, mag-imbestiga at suriin kung ano yung totoo base sa pinresentang mga ebidensya din nitong 18 Marines na ito. So, yun yung inaasahan natin na maimbestiga nilang mabuti base doon sa ebidensyang isinumite nung 18 Marines na ito.
Well, speaking of this issue, involving this 18 ex-Marines, if their allegations remain unproven, Professor Eric, what could be the long-term damage to public trust in government? What do you think?
Well, it's really very two ways. First is that if it is based on facts, then the institutions can be looked at as form part of being more credible, being objective in all. So mas na-strengthen mo kasi dumaan sa proseso at may due process, yung akusasyon dininig at hinandle ng tama. Yun yung isang bagay na rito na magagarantiya dito at may maaasahan ka pang institusyon. On the other hand naman is of course yung dagok or tama nito kasi nire-represent nila yung mga Marines din. So, syempre hindi natin nila lahat maaring magkaroon ng effect ito doon sa pagtingin doon sa ibang other uniformed personnel na mga kasama natin. So, yun din yung medyo hindi rin din maganda in terms of paano napunta sila sa ganitong klaseng linya ng trabaho pagkatapos ng serbisyo. So, yun, you also get to question ano yung nangyari pagkatapos nila na-dismiss ba sila dahil nagkaroon din ba sila ng kaso, but nadadrag yung ibang yung uniform personnel because of this. Kung halimbawa man na walang visa based on factual evidence ang nangyaring investigasyon ng NBI.
Or
kung wala mapatunayan.
Yeah. Or on the other hand, Prof. Eric, if even part of these claims are verified, what does that say about systemic corruption in large-scale projects?
Yes. And that's actually something that will really validate the claims of former people, other people who previously became whistleblower. But more importantly, this is a wake-up call na ganito na pala kalalim, ganyan kalalim, ganun ka-systematic yung corruption sa ating pamahalaan. Not to mention, Sir Dennis, Sir Ox, no? Ito, flood control pa lang, hindi pa dito pinag-uusapan yung mga supplier. So baka magulat tayo.
Procurement.
Baka magulat tayo dun sa isang aspeto na yon, 'di ba? So
Meron pang farm to pocket road.
meron pang yung ganyan. So ano pa lang to talaga, tip of the iceberg. Kasi ang sinasabi nila doon, yung akusasyon, bakit daw lumaki? Kasi ang counter argument nitong mga 18 Marines nung binabasa ko yung kanilang pahayag at ni Attorney Baligot, kasama daw dito hindi lang yung sa flood control, but yung other mode ng natanggap na kickbacks di umano dun sa ibang engagements nila, like supplies and so on and so forth. So nakakagulat na ganito kalalim itong usaping ito.
That's true. These are all critical issues, no? And another critical thing here is on how politicians or people in government would react on issues like this, you know? Eto, Professor Eric, how do you think should the political leaders respond to such serious accusations without necessarily fueling further division?
Well, coming from their perspective, if I'm a politician and probably I'm quite involved, sana matapos na to. Ito yung silver lining nila kasi may panibago ng issue, natatakpan na eh. But I think natatakpan natatabunan na eh. Nawamatay na yung issue. Yun yung nakakalungkot dito kasi at the end of the day, sir, sino ba yung mapapanagot? Yun naman yung previously in all other occasions na tayo po ay na-interview, maski kami po ni Sir Dennis, saan ito lahat papunta? May mapapanagot ba? Yung bang mapapanagot, sila ba talaga yung taong involved? Sila ba talaga yung taong may sala or sacrificial lamb din ba sila? Or for example, sacrificial lamb sila in a sense na meron pang mga mas malaking tao. So yun yung bigger picture na on the outset tinatanong na natin kasi parang alam mo na kung saan ito lahat papunta. So yun yung nakakalungkot dito eh. For example, dun sa House of Representatives, kung mapapansin mo yung mood, parang talagang tumahimik at saka parang maganda yung pagkaka-appoint kay anong tawag dito, pagpapalit kay Speaker Boji kasi yung kanyang personality is very 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 passive. Trabaho lang, hindi siya ma-presscon. Plus yung ibang mga dating mga taga attack dogs na mga ibang nanahimik sila dahil malaking usapin na ito eh. So yun, kung ikaw tingin mong medyo may kinalaman ka or meron kang aware ka dun sa issue na yun, might as well na parang itemper mo yung masyadong sarili ng hindi ka na, kasi sa ngayon sa panahon ngayon madali kang ma-verify through your statements before and so on and so forth. So yun lamang po.
Well, ako at this point, sabi nga ni Prof. Eric, parang at the end of the day, ang tatanungin mo dito, who should be held accountable? So, balik naman tayo dun sa accountability, transparency. So, Prof. Eric, what should the public demand at this point? Transparency? Is it transparency, accountability, or restraint?
Well, it's the combination of three, Sir Dennis, if I may. Yung mechanism, for example, sa pagdinig ng budget, na simulan na i-live feed or magkaroon ng communication na naka-online na siya. Pero baka ito rin din yung magandang pagkakataon na let's explore, for example, bottom-up budgeting. Right? Nagagawa na siya sa iba. How consultative is the budget process? For example, in every, for example, committee, need ba, for example, ng watchdog or a non-government organization to sit and to become spectators in the said process. So, bagamat ako sa akin, very showbiz kasi yung napansin ko nung doon sa BICAM kasi okay, naka-online siya, naka-live feed siya, pero yung pinag-uusapan doon technical anong kinalaman ng mga simpleng mamamayang Pilipino halimbawa doon na gustong manood at gustong maintindihan yung proseso ng kanilang pinag-uusapan. And as far as we are concerned, tapos na siya It's just a matter of paplansyahin mo na lang siya. Pero yung mga detalye nun, natapos na. So, balikan natin yung proseso before. Paano natin siya i-open sa public? Paano natin siya gagawing mas transparent sa ating taong bayan? Secondly, it's really curbing behavior and values of our politicians. How? By, of course, instituting also electoral reform, by allowing other candidates to flourish. Kasi, sa totoo lang, and alam ni Sir Dennis to, matagal na natin itong ina-advocate, Sir Dennis, na dapat baguhin yung electoral system natin para magkaroon ng ibang players.
Yes.
Magkaroon ng ibang tao. Tayo po naniniwala, ang dami pong magagaling na mga Pilipino na nais na mag-serve. Pero anong unang konsiderasyon nila? Pera. Unang konsiderasyon nila yung makinarya dahil hindi nila kayang lumaban doon sa mga namamayagpag na mga pangalan. So, limitado, bagamat may demokrasya tayo, yung democratic space pa rin din natin ay napakaliit kasi kulang ng choices yung taong bayan. So, more importantly, yung values and allowing and providing opportunity for others to serve the nation or our country.
Well, that's correct, Professor Eric. No, many actually the Filipino people, our audience, are kind of intrigued, with the veracity of the status of the 18 soldiers, as well as the allegations, expressed by them. What do you think? If these allegations escalate, could this trigger a political crisis? What are the possible scenarios, Professor Eric? Will there be containment, exposure, or complete political fallout?
Well, of course, there I think two scenarios. So one is if this is really true, people and this is true. This could be really validated and such. There could be unrest on the part of the people. You just imagine, yung sinabi din natin kanina na, just imagine with the crisis in front of us versus the kickbacks, that the total amount that was pocketed, basically alleged pocketed by these politicians versus the amount na ibibigay nilang ayuda at hindi natutugunan tong crisis na to. The unrest on the part of the people. And the other possible, super worst case talaga siya is, a change of, administration na wag naman sana via extra constitutional means na naman. So, yun, dapat talaga, mas maging mapanuri tayo pero tingin ko, hindi naman nadadating doon sa ganung klaseng punto na sobrang extremes nun. But more importantly lang ang manaig yung rule of law and within the parameters of the Constitution. Should there be transition and should there be panawagan din sa ating lahat na mas maging mapanuri tayo doon sa mga kumakalat na balita at balitang inilalabas patungkol dito sa issue ng 18 Marines nandiyan.
Yes, I agree with Professor Eric that extreme na nga yung yung kung sakaling magkaroon ng leadership change, Pero ako naman naisip ko yung bang impact nito doon sa trust ratings ni Presidente Marcos. So Prof. Eric, to what extent can controversies like this contribute to the declining trust ratings of President Marcos?
Well, hindi natin mapagkakaila. And of course, we need further studies to correlate kung may impact talaga ito. Pero ang tingin ko, yung patuloy na pagsadsad ng trust at saka approval rating ng Pangulo is something that would be determined based on how he would be able to address this crisis. And at the same, this crisis in front of us. Itong accusation ng 18 Marines, tingin ko may may epekto pero hindi pa ganun kalaking epekto kasi
Yeah.
walang substantial evidence talaga that would really pin down the president. Again, at the end of the day, malaking big accusation siya pero as far as the evidence is concerned, ano yung direct link nila doon sa presidente and so on and so forth. So tingin ko walang epekto siya sa aking pagtingin. Ang may epekto kung tatamaan man yung approval at saka trust ratings ng Pangulo, yung pag-handle niya ng buong krisis na ito. It will be a governance issue on the part of the president.
I agree. Sa tingin ko, merong mas dapat pagtuunan ng pansin.
Yes.
No? Sa pagkakataong ito, kesa dito sa isyong ito, although hindi natin binabaliwala, no? Itong mga allegations. But as far as the trust rating of the president is concerned, I think he has to address a more relevant and more urgent issue and rather than facing these allegations just yet, you know. But what I'm saying is that after all, he still has the benefit of the doubt, you know, sa kabila nitong mga allegations. But what do you think could be the aftermath of these allegations, Prof?
Well, of course, the aftermath would be two things. First is upon determination of the credibility based on the evidences submitted and the findings basically of the NBI. Doon tingin ko lahat iikot yun based on the findings of the NBI. So at kung ano yung lumabas doon sa findings ng NBI based doon sa evidences submitted and upon their evaluation, then doon magkakaroon talaga ng katuldukan or magkakaroon talaga ng linaw as to the veracity of the accusations of these 18 Marines. May mga pictures sila, meron silang palitan ng mga screenshot ng mga text doon. Pero very early and premature. NBI is, I think, the best agency to be able to determine whether or not may merit at saka merong weight talaga yung mga sinasabi at akusasyon nitong 18 Marines na ito. And from there, we will be able to determine as such.
Great. All right, Professor Eric, we're very glad to have you in our show tonight. And it is such an insightful conversation with you here on the PH Insider. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Eric.
Thank you very much, Sir Ox, Sir Dens. Thank you.
All right, that's our political scientist, Professor Eric De Torres. Thank you. Professor Dennis, okay, pahapyaw, briefly, pag-usapan niya natin itong, ikaw, anong tingin mo? Anong mga dapat nating, dapat na pagharap dito sa mga aligasyon nitong 18 soldier?
Well, of
18
course,
soldiers.
just like since ito ng seryosong allegation to, hindi to pwedeng pag-usapan lamang sa court of public opinion.
And hindi rin pwedeng basta baliwalain lang.
That's right. Oo. So dapat ito kumbaga man maingat na pagsisiyasat. Kasi seryoso yung aligasyon. And I think this is part of the larger quest for evidence that can link the president and his cousin, the former speaker, to this flood control mess.
Yes.
Oo. So talaga namang yung mga detractors sa president nag-ahanap kasi I think they strongly believe that the president and the former House Speaker were involved in this flood control mess. So talagang pinipilit nila i-link yung mga leaders na yon, So yun ang yun ang nito, yun ang I think the ultimate goal. Oo.
Well, ako naman ang nakikita ko sa ngayon, like I said earlier, this is something that's not supposed to be set aside, no?
That's right.
It has to be addressed also with urgency. After all, nandun pa naman to sa level ng pagsisiyasat or investigasyon, considering na meron namang mga investigating bodies that are really in charge to do the job, because the people also deserve to know kung what's really the real score
That's right.
behind these allegations of these 18 soldiers.
Yeah, and speaking of investigating bodies, I think the NBI, which is, although yung appointing authority yata dyan is the President, but given the credentials of the newly appointed NBI Director, sa tingin nyo kaya, no, could we expect a high level of objectivity from Attorney Matibag?
Well, that's the ideal.
Yes.
Yeah, and while they're doing the most ideal way of investigating, I think the president, the administration has to address another very important issue, and
Yes.
that's the byproduct, the effect of the tension in the Middle East that is really confronting us Filipinos, not just even the peoples of the world who are watching, and especially our OFWs there, mas marami talaga importanteng But it has all to be well taken care of by the administration so as not to affect his ratings,
Yeah, tama.
Kasi, gaya sabi ni Professor Eric, eventually niya, talagang mababa pa lalong rating niya kung meron siyang hindi mas ma-address na mas importanteng mga issues sa ngayon.
Actually, Sir Ox, even before this Middle East crisis, the people have always been expressive about the national issues that they think the government should give priority to. Parating economic issues.
Yes.
Yan ang mga lumalabas sa mga surveys. Inflation, unemployment, ekonono pa, no?
Increasing trade deficits,
That's right.
devaluation of peso.
Wala pang crisis yan. What more
How much more
ngayon?
now? All right.
Ay.
Yeah, but like I said, ang panawagan natin is that for the current administration, for the Philippine government to remain focused on addressing issues that really are confronting us Filipinos for the welfare of the Filipinos.
Yes.
When men come forward with claims of billions in public funds moving in the shadows, the issue is no longer personal. It becomes national. But here's the real question. Do we demand the truth? Or do we wait for this to fade like every other scandal? Silence is convenient. Delay is familiar. And yet, history has shown what is left unanswered only grows bigger. This is not about politics alone. This is about whether our institutions still work or whether power continues to operate beyond accountability. The question now is simple but uncomfortable. Will this be another story we move on from? Or the moment we finally demand answers? Magandang gabi. Ako po si Ox Balyado, with of course the veteran political analyst in the House, Dr. Dennis Coronation.
Yeah, hanggang sa muli po, sa susunod na usapan ng susunod na nagbabagang issue.
Hanggang sa muli po nating paghihimay-himay ng mga balitang may pakialam ka. This is the program where we cut through the noise, confront the gaps, and demand the answers the nation deserves. This is the PH Insider on TV.